Well, here we go. This is it. The last dance, the final hurrah, the season finale of Kings this week. So sad. But who's excited for playoffs? Here we go. It is the final episode of the season of Kings this week. My name is Jordan Kiss. Thank you very much for joining me. Very excited time to be a Kings fan right now. Of course, playoffs start this weekend. The first time the Kings are in the postseason since 2020. We'll preview the first round series with the Surrey Eagles later on in our show, but you should know this part by now. We're going to start our show off with our weekend recap as we'll review the final three regular season games last weekend on the Lower Mainland. So last weekend would mark the final weekend of the regular season in the BCHL as the Kings finished it up with a 3-game Lower Mainland road trip, and it would start off with a doozy of a matchup as the Kings took on their first round opponents in the Surrey Eagles. Now the Kings came into this one with a record of 2-1 against Surrey on the season, but 0-1 in the South Surrey Arena, which was a 7-0 loss back in November. But of course, a lot has changed since then. The Kings have become a much better team since that game. So how would they fare in a first round preview? Now also, the Kings would also be without Anthony Lucarelli for this game as he was serving game 1 of a 2-game suspension. So we'll start this one up about 7 minutes into the first period. Tate Taylor driving to the goal. Loose puck would then come to Jacob Bonkowski, who throw it towards the net. Now, nobody thought the puck was in, but the referee was there to call it a goal as the former King will give his new team a 1-0 lead. But the Kings would have a relatively quick response. Casey Yaman with the point shot. It would hit the post, and it would then go to Adam Mendelson, who will knock it in from the crease. His 10th of the year as the Kings tie it up at 10:47. But the Eagles would take the lead back. 16:48 turnover at the offensive blue line for the Kings would lead to a 2-on-1. Aaron Schwartz to Jake Bongo finishes it off. His 22nd 2-1 Eagles lead going into period number 2. In the second, the Eagles would make it a 2-goal lead midway through just after the media timeout. Offensive zone faceoff. Connor Schneider finding a wide-open Trent Wilson. He'll deke to the backhand and get it past Vanderkoy, his 5th, 3-1 Kings. Just shortly after that, Noah Ayer driving to the goal. Great move here. Gets a shot on net. Ryder Ringer there to put in the rebound. His 9th of the season, 3-2 Eagles, as that would be the score going into the third period. Then in the third, the Eagles would start to pull away a bit. 7:49, Ryden Evers from the slot, his 16th, 4-2 Eagles. Then they would kind of seal the deal here. 17:27, Trent Wilson with the wraparound, his 2nd of the game, 5-2 Surrey. Then Ante Zlomazlik would finish it off with an empty netter at 19:47 as the Kings will fall short in this game by a score of 6-2. So Saturday, the Kings were in Langley to take on the Rivermen, who were locked in 8th place and getting ready for a first-round matchup with the Nanaimo Clippers. The Kings 1-2 against Langley this season, but the last meeting was in November, so it's been a long time since these two teams saw each other as the Kings headed into the lodge of the George Preston Rec Center, a building that they haven't won in since 2018. And of course, the Kings are still a little shorthanded with no Anthony Lucarelli, who was serving the final game of his suspension, and no Alexi Van Hookachero, who was out for precautionary reasons after taking the high stick the game before. But it would be a good start in this one for the Kings. We'll start here in the first period, about 13 minutes in. Puck in the neutral zone. Will Jones to Noah Ayer, who makes a great move at the blue line to get by the Langley defenders. Walks into the right circle, shoots, and scores his 9th of the season. 1-0 Kings led after the first period. Then in the second, Langley would tie it right after a power play expired. Riley Kotai knocking in the rebound at 13:30. 1-1 is the score. But the Kings would answer back on a power play of their own. 17-17, Will Jones with a hard pass to the side of the goal for Anthony Yu, who would tip it in for his 17th of the season. 2-1 Kings. Then the following shift, Ryder Ringer, a shot from the point, tipped in by Alex Sandu, his 4th. 3-1 Kings lead. Then just seconds after that, Noah Ayer finding Carter McNarland in the slot, shoots and scores his 16th as the Kings went on to score 3 goals in 2 minutes to take a 4-1 lead heading into the third period. Now Langley did not go away. 10:56 on a power play. Dominic Ravelli tapping in the rebound for his 5th of the season. 4-2 Kings lead. Then a minute after that, Colton Eisner feeds John Small in the slot, shoots and scores his 3rd. And just like that, it's a 1-goal lead for the road team. Then a few minutes later, Hayden Gelbard tipping in the shot from Brett Ursulak, and in a matter of about 4 minutes, the Rivermen have scored 3 times to tie the game up 4-4. Then a minute 45 later, Langley on a power play, Tanner Atua, a wrist shot from the point, finds its way through traffic to give the Rivermen the lead, shocking the Kings with 4 goals in about 7 minutes to jump up 5-4. Now the Kings would pull the goalie for the extra attacker, but were unsuccessful as they come up short. A devastating loss, 5-4, as this game also marked the first time this season the Kings have lost in regulation while leading after 2 periods. A not-so-ideal result on Friday against your first-round opponents. A heartbreaking loss on Saturday in Langley. Now on Sunday, how would the Kings respond as they took on the Coquitlam Express in the final game of the regular season? Coquitlam was locked in 4th place as they were getting set for a first-round matchup with their rival in the Chilliwack Chiefs, and the Express are also one of the 2 teams this year the Kings have yet to beat in the Coastal Conference. But the Kings would get some reinforcements back in the lineup as Anthony Lucarelli and Alexi Van Hucachero did return. As we'll start this one off early in the first period. Parker Lalonde winning the offensive zone draw. Alexi Van Hucachero with the shot. It would be tipped in by Adam Mendelson, his 11th. Kings jumping out in front early. And then they would make it a 2-0 lead on a 4-on-3 power play. 11:01 into the first. Carter McNarland to Casey Yaman, 1 times it in, his 10th of the season. 2-0 Kings. But Coquitlam would respond on a power play themselves. Mirko Buttazzoni at 16:05 from the left circle shoots and scores his 20th. 2-1 Kings led going into the second. Then in the second, Coquitlam would tie it. Tyler Kopf on a short-handed breakaway going 5-hole through Vanderkoy, his 21st 2-2 tie. But the Kings would regain the lead. 11:07, Cam Simons with the shot. It would hit something in front. It would land over Brady Smith into the back of the net. His 14th 3-2 Kings. And Cam Simons would add another one. Great passing play here with Lucarelli and McNarland. Simons finishing it off. 2nd of the game, 15th of the season. 4-2 Kings led, but a minute later, Coquitlam would have another answer. Luke Vardy with a shot from the far wall, his 3rd. Now the lead 4-3, but the Kings quickly making that a 2-goal lead once again. Parker Lalonde from the goal line banks it off the back of the legs of Brady Smith, his 15th of the season, as the Kings led 5-3 going into the second. Then in the third, they would just continue to pile it on. 142, Sam Belanger with the shot. Stopped, rebound, Park Lalonde there to bury it. 2nd of the game, his 16th. Score now 6-3 for the Kings. Then at 7:19, Casey Yaman trying to move it in deep. It would hit the stanchion, deflect right to the top of the crease, where guess who's standing there? Cam Simons hammers it home to complete the hat trick in his final regular season junior game, as he also matches his jersey numbers in goals this season with his 16th. A big moment for him as it was 7-3 Kings. Then they would make it 8-3, 10:53. Anthony Yu denied, but put in by newly signed Carter Lundy, his 2nd of the year, as it was a 8-3 Powell River. Then Mateo Dixon would add one at 13:25 for Coquitlam to get their 4th of the game, but that would be as close as they would come as the Kings win their final regular season game by a score of 8-4 and to pick up that coveted 20th win on the season. So a big win to wrap up the season for the Kings as they finished with a record of 20-26-5-3. And now before we get into a preview of the first round matchup with the Surrey Eagles, we'll share some news about some regular season accomplishments for a couple Kings players. First off, Anthony Lucarelli. What a season for him. He finished the season leading the team in goals with 21. Also 2nd on the team in points with 43. Now the man who led the team in in points was Carter McNarland, who had 47 and also led the team in assists with 31. And one of the biggest accomplishments, I would say, would be to Jack Blanchett, whose 15 goals was the most amongst any defenseman in the BCHL this season. A huge congratulations to him. That is not an easy feat to do. He's also had 7 power play goals out of his 15. So a big win to wrap up the regular season as the Kings finish with a record of 20-26-5-3. And before we get into our first round preview with the Surrey Eagles, I just want to share some accomplishments for some Kings players from this season. First off, Anthony Lucarelli. What a year for him. He led the team in goals at 21, also finished second in points with 43. Now, the man who led the Kings team in points was Carter McNarland, who had 47. He also led the team in assists with 31. And one of the biggest accomplishments in my mind was Jack Blanchett, who scored 15 times this year, more goals than any other defenseman in the BCHL. So kudos to him. Now also 7 out of his 15 goals were on the power play, which was most on the Kings and the second most amongst BCHL defensemen this year. So congratulations to all 3 of those guys, and hopefully they can continue that play going into the first round of the playoffs. Now it's playoff preview time as the Kings will get... Now it's playoff preview time as the Kings will get set for their first taste of playoff hockey since 2020 as they'll go on and take the Surrey Eagles. This will be the first time these two teams have met in the playoffs since 2012, where the Kings defeated the Eagles in the conference finals to move on to their 4th straight Fred Page Cup finals. Now we'll look at the tail of the tape here, and you see it initially. Everything seems to be one-sided in favor of Surrey. Of course, it is a 2-for-7 matchup, but talking to the Kings coaching staff, they don't feel that at all. They think it is much more even than what it looks like on paper. Obviously, you see it here, Surrey with the better record, but head-to-head, 2-2 this season with the home team winning each game. Now, the goals for category is pretty even. We know the Kings have not had trouble scoring goals this season, but the biggest difference here is the goals against, as the Kings have allowed 80 more goals than the Surrey Eagles this season. Goaltending is going to play a huge role in this series. We'll touch on that very shortly here. Power play is going to be very interesting, as in the 4 games of this season series, not one team scored a power play goal against each other. Both teams going 100% on the penalty kill. So we'll see if that carries over into the first round matchup. Now, obviously, Surrey has home ice advantage, and one of the bigger home ice advantages in the league, because if you don't know, the South Surrey Arena has Olympic size ice. So it is a lot bigger, and Surrey's game is built for that big ice. So it's going to be crucial for the Kings to play well and win a game in Surrey. Of course, if the Kings want to win the series, they're going to have to win a game. And talking to the coaching staff, if they can win 1 out of the first 2 games in Surrey, that could go a long ways, because they do feel very confident playing against them on home ice. Now, I talked about the goaltending. That's going to be, again, a huge factor in this playoff series. If you don't know this, the Eagles are without their top netminder, their all-star goalie, Eli Pulver, who is out with injury, as Michael Sochan will be the goalie for the Eagles in the first round. Don't think it's going to be as easy as you think it is. He's had good numbers this season. Of course, went 2-1 against the Kings this year. And as of right now, it is unclear for the Kings who will get the start in Game 1. As right now, you could go Metzen, you could go Vanderkoy. Both have very strong cases to make the start. So, of course, first round series, Game 1 starts Friday in Surrey at 7:15 p.m. And then Game 2 goes down on Saturday, 6 o'clock from the South Surrey Arena. And then when the series shifts to Powell River, Game 3, 7 o'clock on Monday, and then Game 4, 7 o'clock on Tuesday, right here at the Hap Parker Arena. And with that, this is our wrap. We are done here on Kings this week. Of course, this is the final episode. We will not be continuing this series during playoffs. I thank everybody who has tuned in to an episode, whether you've watched all of them. I think it's over 30 episodes, or this is your first time tuning in. Thank you very much for your support all season long, and we will be back again next year in a little bit of a different format for Kings this week. I'll keep that under wraps for now, but get ready for a newly revamped kind of version of Kings this week next season. Of course, Games 1, 7:15 on Friday from the South Surrey Arena. Join me on the Kings Broadcast Network with the pregame show starting at 7 o'clock. So again, thank you very much for tuning in to Kings this week all season long. Enjoy the playoffs. Hopefully it is a long run for the Kings. My name is Jordan Kiss. Until next time, go Kings go.